Majid, the banner I sent out here, I've got a lot of requests saying, who is Majid? What's this jack of all
Jack of
things?
all trades.
So can you just, explain to, I know you do a lot of things. In the intro itself, you should, briefly highlight it. So do you want to quickly tell the viewers, like, why you're jack of which trade?
What is the meaning of the jack of all trades
Exactly,
title? Okay,
yeah.
why did we choose that title? Okay,
Exactly,
well, I think the idea behind that is because probably in your group as well, you'll have a lot of startup businesses and established businesses.
Yeah.
And one of the conundrums which a lot of people face is when they're starting up, they want to get new business. They want to be known for something. They want to try and drive some traffic towards what they're doing. And one of the mistakes that new startups often make, and I still see some people making these mistakes, is they try and put everything in the basket. They try and become everything to everybody, right? So if you just imagine somebody in your industry, a web designer, right? Somebody who's a web designer who will offer graphic design services, they will offer designing apps, they will offer services for social media management. These are all lots of different disciplines under the one umbrella, which is fine. They're interrelated to some degree. But then you've got some people who, I know somebody who recently asked me if they can put my services on their website because it's a new business. And I'd asked them what their business was, and it had nothing to do with risk management. It was, I suppose there was an element of risk management somewhere, but it was mostly to do with some other industry. And I thought to myself, it doesn't look right for you as one brand to be offering different services which are completely in contrast to each other. So the danger for startup businesses is that you could look like a jack of all trades but master of nothing. For established businesses, there's another conundrum, because people who already have an established business, now this can be split. You can have a product-based business or a service-based business. Depending on which business you're in, if you're starting to offer services which aren't related to your original service or trade, then that can also have its own challenges. I had the same challenges because, as you can see from the promo video, I don't just have the one brand. I have 4 different brands which I'm running at the moment. And the problem here is that if you start to offer everything to everybody, you try to become everything for everyone, then you're not creating a niche and you're not going to be remembered by anybody for any one thing. So the saying is, if you're marketing to everyone, you're not marketing to anyone.
Exactly.
And when you think in marketing terms, you have to understand that your ideal customer has to be very clear in your mind. Who is your ideal customer? What does this prospect look like? What kind of industry are they in? What kind of turnover may they have? What kind of how much staffing requirements they have, and all these kind of things will come into your mind. What region of the world do they belong to? What are their values? You have to be very clear with your prospects, and when you're marketing, who are you targeting exactly? Because if you're targeting everybody, then you're not going to be doing a very good job. You're not going to be seen as somebody who knows what they're doing for them in particular. As an example, my main business is in risk management. It has become that over the years. My background is in law. So I graduated in law. After that, I needed to earn some money for my LPC course. So I went into sales for about 10 years. I happened to be very good at sales, surprisingly, because being the reserved person that I am, I didn't think I would ever be good in that kind of an industry. So when I went to sales, I broke some national records for big companies. And then I went into training, coaching, and mentoring other sales professionals on how to become better at sales, including managers and professionals. Now, that's why I still hold those services, but I only do them 3 times a year. So twice I do them for the public sector. So I train and mentor senior council leaders in influencing and negotiation skills. And then once a year, I hold an event for the private sector. The private sector for professionals in the art of selling through intelligent questioning techniques, negative motivation using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So And throughout those years, I didn't stop learning, because you never do stop learning. I was just thinking earlier, what my background was in terms of academically. Yes, I do have a law degree. I've done the Prince 2 project management practitioners course. I qualified as an occupational safety and health. I'm just going to look at this brief little list that I wrote together. ISO 9001 quality management systems, OSAS 18001 management auditor, training and teaching qualifications, NLP. So the list just goes on. The problem is, if once you start to market any of these services in return for money, then you are seen or perceived as somebody who's a professional in that industry. But then if you do too many of them, then if they're not related to what you're already providing, then you can be seen as a jack of all trades and master of nothing, you see. So when it came to risk management, I'm very clear. My main bread and butter, my main business is in risk management. So I do audits and I do training and I write policies and risk assessments for businesses to make sure they're legally compliant and they keep them out of court and litigation claims. But three times a year, I'll open space for professionals or councils, leaders in the public sector to attend masterclasses or training in those particular skills in negotiating. So when we talked about jack of all trades and master of nothing, we have to be careful, because especially for startup businesses or new businesses, when you're trying to put everything in your basket, like trying to provide all the services you can think of to your audience, you're not going to be remembered for any one particular thing. And if somebody were to ask you or somebody to ask me, who can design websites, for example, it's a very specific question there, websites. I need to come in my mind and think to myself, who has promoted websites in my mind, yeah? Even though they may be doing websites, and they might be also doing apps, and they might be doing social media stuff, and they might also be doing graphic design work, printing even, under the same roof. To me, the question is specific, the answer needs to be specific. So somebody was to ask somebody, who do you know who could do risk assessments? I'd like to believe if they knew me, they'll be thinking of me, because I bang on about it all the time. That's my main business. But under the same roof, if I was to say I do risk assessments, I do sales training, I do NLP coaching, I do this, and this, then the message is diluted. And
I've got on the caveat side of that is, say your management consulting company does that, and that's your forte, but instead of say starting a new brand or new business and then separating all these industries, why can't you now have one industry and get other professionals to work for you and work under your banner as employees, and you still could have one parent company and provide all this. For example,
I agree.
A marketing agency. We not only do website. I know I probably don't bang on about website, because that's not the only thing we do. We do marketing, we do social media marketing, we do pay-per-click marketing, Google AdWords, we do like SEO stuff, we do apps, as you said. So there's three different industry in itself, kind of thing, kind of niche basically industry.
I'm not disagreeing with that, Muqtadir. What I'm saying is, as a startup business is different. Once you've established yourself as a service provider for something and you've got testimonials to reflect the good work that you do, then there's every reason why you should be adding on to what you're already doing, as long as it's in the same industry, right? So within the marketing banner, you will have websites, you might have graphic design, you might have apps, right? You might have social media, but then you're looking at that as a vertical growth, So you're growing upwards, and you can cross-sell your services. You've got different services to the same client, you can cross-sell. So, you got your website with us. By the way, if you want an app to be built for this particular business, we do that as well in a different department, which is fine. I'm saying is, let's just say you've got your marketing agency, you're doing websites, you're doing apps, you're doing social media, you're doing all of that, and then all of a sudden, what you're doing is you're providing insurance.
That's completely different.
You see what I mean? This is a completely different. And now, it may not be an issue if it's in a completely different brand. Exactly. What I'm saying is, if you've got a brand, you need to be loyal to your own brand. When you're marketing yourself, you need to be marketing with that in mind, to say, this is my brand and this is what I stand for, these are our values, this is what we do, and this is what we're going to be bringing in as a result for you as our clients. But once you've got, I mean, this is what I've seen, you see, this is why I'm mentioning it, because I've seen people in a particular industry, but they want to add my services, for example, to make them look like they're able to do a lot more for their client.
Yeah.
And they think that it's an attractive thing. They think, you know what, this would be voice control systems. So my phone just thought I asked it at the time, but I didn't. And so, you know, where was I? Yeah, if you're gonna go down that road of having another service which is completely unrelated to your existing brand, then it's better to do that under a separate brand identity. And that's when we go into branding and stuff. And branding is a whole different kind of discussion altogether. The point of this discussion was to kind of highlight that there's nothing wrong with having more than one business interest, but it has to be, the timing has to be right.
Yeah.
The methodology, the way you do it has to be right. And how you brand it has to be right. I mean, I had this conundrum because, you see, for the first 10 years, I was in sales after graduating.
Yeah.
And after that, I went into risk management because it was a niche I recognized and I wanted to kind of get into there. So whilst I was working, I was studying part-time and, you know, did all the postgraduate courses and got the professional memberships, and I started working in that industry. It wasn't a difficult transition because it was first time working for my own brand rather than somebody else's brand. Even though I've always worked as a self-employed independent contractor, it was my own brand this time. So now I'm there. Now people recognized me for those many years, for the last 10, 15 years, as the risk management consultant. He's the guy who does training. He's the guy who writes policies. He's the guy who can do risk assessment. He's the guy who went and worked on the Haram expansion projects in Mecca and Medina for a few years. You know, he's recognized. I'm recognized for that.
Yeah.
And then I was still getting dragged by other professionals to still share ideas and training and coaching for the sales stuff that I'd done, because it was an unorthodox style of selling. It still is. It's very counterintuitive, my style of selling. And you don't stop selling. I'm selling for myself more.
Yeah.
You know, you're always selling.
People, one thing coming to sales, or one thing sorry to interrupt, one thing I've noticed is sales. You know, people think sales people is something, you know, once, you know, they think about salesperson, they think about like a car sales, but you sell every day in your life. You know, you go for a job interview, what are you doing? You're selling. When you want to marry a person, to the what you're doing, you're selling yourself to the person. Do you know what I mean?
Go on and look at it. How did you sell yourself? I want to know that. I want to know how you sold yourself to your
the fact that you're in this podcast, I have to sell it to you, why you have to come in, is everything is, you know, people.
You're not going to get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. I want to know how you sold yourself.
I'll take that offline.
I'll let you off. Okay.
But you got just don't you, like everything is but you know, it is because when you think about it, when you start a business, from the get-go, you have to sell. You have to sell to your employees why they should do things this way. You have to sell to your clients why, you know, your way is better than their way, because your client will have an input on their product or service, and use your use your duty as an authoritative figure to say, look, no, this is the right way. This is how we do things, and this is, you'll get better idea because you've got that. And you got to sell them. You got to convince them. If you don't, then there's a way there. These people are meant to be professional, and I'm telling them what to do. Do you know what I mean? Everything is all sale. You name it, anywhere you go, your friends, you have to convince your friends to go to a particular restaurant. That's a sales. People don't realize about that, because why should they listen to you over somebody else?
Well, you see, for me, I'm very different. I'm a bit of a maverick when it comes to these things. I don't think selling is the same as convincing. It's completely the opposite. Okay. In my opinion, selling is not about convincing your prospects. It's about coaching them. Okay. So, as one of my quotations and graphics, for those people who follow me, they know I like to write little quotes here and there, and that's one of my quotes as well. And purely because the moment you try to convince somebody to do something, it's an enforced decision. It's not a decision which they've come to. But when you're coaching somebody, asking them the right questions,
Yeah.
they answer the questions and they come to the decision, then they're more likely to stick to it. And that's the unique thing about selling in contrast to convincing. There is an art to influencing and negotiating, and I train senior council leaders in influencing and negotiation skills, because they're having to negotiate deals, they're having to negotiate with external contractors, they have to negotiate with their employees on ideas and projects and all sorts of stuff, and influence them into making certain decisions. Maybe they're seniors. So it's a very different thing, convincing to influencing and negotiating to selling. And a lot of this does come down to coaching skills. So yeah, it's a very interesting discussion to be had.
It is, yeah. No, but what you said about different industry, you have to separate them. I think you're 100% on point, because that's what you should be, because branding is important. If you're doing a management consultant, that's what you should be focusing on. And if you want to start something that completely different industry, start a new business, you're 100%, I 100% agree with you on that. Talking about your different companies, I know you've got management consulting one, which you just discussed. You've got Majid Waris, and you've got Beardos Media and FaithSafe. Can you quickly expand on each of them, and why have we got 4 different consultants? I know maybe, what leads you to do all this?
Yeah, so MajidWaris.com is my own brand, my own personal brand. So anything to do with selling, influencing, negotiation skills, and all that kind of stuff. This is me as the umbrella brand. So MajidWaris.com is the umbrella brand. Yeah. Under MajidWaris.com, you have Waris International Consulting, a limited company, and we do consulting work for our clients. So that's all the risk management stuff. When we're talking about auditing, training, writing policies, procedures, method statements, risk assessments, and all that kind of thing. That's all that. FaithSafe is actually a product of Waris Consulting. So FaithSafe is a product which caters for the faith-based organizations when it comes to compliance. So that could be safeguarding, it could be health and safety, it could be employment law, it could be insurance. So FaithSafe is a brand, a product of Waris Consulting. It's not a completely separate company, but it's branded in that way so it attracts. You see what I was telling you about marketing and having a niche? So it's specific as a brand for the faith-based community for their health and safety. Yeah. So when faith-based organizations look for health and safety, for example, somebody might type in health and safety for mosques or health and safety for churches or synagogues. Ideally, we want to be in that position where we're offering them bespoke advice and services for their particular organization. So that's FaithSafe. Beardos Media is a relatively new concept. It's my podcast. So this is where myself and a friend of mine, we sit down and have discussions about business, banter, and everything beyond. So, there are interesting discussions. They're not your normal businessy type of discussions. We talk about stuff which are maybe taboo subjects at times. And you know what? I'd never thought I'd ever speak on the topic of love on a podcast live, right?
But I do one of your podcasts, especially the mine one, after the years of hilarious.
Yeah. So we actually had a full episode on love, and the title of the podcast was "What's Love Got to Do with It?" So everybody obviously recognized the song, What's Love Got to Do with It? There are plenty of innuendos there, but we have things like, discussing things like discounts for friends, for example. Why? Or should you not? In what cases do you have friend and family discounts? And there are lots of different types of interesting discussions. So anybody's interested in having or watching some interesting discussions, then have a look at Beardos Media.
Yeah.
And
after this live session, just send me the link and I'll put it in the comment below. So someone will go and follow you guys and watch the. But what day do you run this podcast in? Is it
every Tuesday at 6:00? Yeah. So if they connect with me, then it goes live on my account.
Okay.
And then it's shared from there. So they can connect with me. Feel free to connect with me and we'll see it go live on my account. So.
I'll put all your details on the comment section after this live session. That's no problem. Also, guys, if you have any questions for Majid, please leave a comment down, and Majid isn't part of this group. He'll answer any of your questions as well. Any of you who's watching in the replay as well. So that's fine. So how do you get time to do all this, Majid? How do you? That's another question, because your background is in consultant in management, and you're quite very corporate as well. How do you? Because one thing, a lot of people, who's doing four different things would struggle. Especially, I know you're a family man, you've got 5 kids as well. How do you divide the time, and how come you're so good at time management? What's the secret?
It comes with its challenges, but I think you have to maintain time for specific things, which is very important, and stick with it. It's not more about time management as it is about personal management, managing yourself, because we can't really manage time. There's no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. Time just goes, it doesn't stop for anybody. You can't shift it around. You can only manage yourself within the given period of time. So I think the most important thing is knowing what you're going to be doing and when you're going to be doing that particular activity, whatever it is, and try and form a routine around it. Now, obviously, there'll be things that get thrown into the spanners, when you're not expecting them, so they'll take you off your routine. But generally, if you have a routine that this time, look, I'm not the kind of person to kind of advocate that you have to have a routine based on certain times of the day and get up early in the morning and stuff like that. You get up when you want to get up, and you go to sleep when you want to go to sleep. But within that time period, there are certain tasks that need to be done. Because I'm a bit of an ullu, as they say in Punjabi, right? As an owl. So I'm a bit of a night owl. I sleep late, but I make sure I get my full sleep before I get active and work again. But within that time, I have certain things which I want to do, have to do, or should do. And there are the priorities, and this is a must do, this is a have to do or should do, this is a good to do, this is can do without, and it's not a priority. So got to do them in the right priority. And I think it's more about self-management and keeping a clear head than running around like a blue ass fly trying to do everything and not getting anything done.
No, I totally agree. I think I don't think I'll be able to run 4 individual businesses the way you're doing it. It's fair play. I definitely have to give that to you.
I think that's a limiting belief, Muqtada. That's a limiting belief. Stop believing that and you'll end up doing it.
Yeah, I think, as you said, you have to build his experience and in his time, and you have to build something first. Let that grow yourself, and then move on to that. Maybe I'll come to your level in a few years.
You're welcome. Okay, you're welcome.
Majid, I remember I first met you. I think it's Abid's Chatney and Chats show, which was one of those business networking event, and I did kind of briefly met you, and obviously then I connected you in Facebook, and this is how we connected. But I just want to find a bit more about who Majid Waris is. So I've got a few fire questions.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, I
was born ready.
Okay. Tea or coffee? You're drinking something.
Black coffee, no sugar.
Yeah. Okay. What was your first car?
Ford Escort 1.6 gear.
Nice. Yeah. What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
Just do it. Don't procrastinate. Don't think about the naysayers. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for certain things to happen before you take action. Ready, fire, aim.
That's
you fire first and aim later. Just do it. Just don't think about, because look, you'll never get everyone's approval for everything. So whatever you think is the right thing to do, just do it. Yeah.
No, 100%. iPhone or Android?
I was the biggest iPhone fan going, but I'm an Android fan. I have been for the last 5 years.
I still think Apple the best.
For certain things, yes.
Okay, where does Majid Waris wants to retire when he had enough of building his empires and when he made his millions, and he had enough of consulting, marketing, podcasts? Where does Majid eventually want to retire? Which country or what place?
I never want to retire.
Okay.
I don't think I will ever want to retire. I enjoy what I do so much that it keeps me going. I think when people think about retirement or slowing down, then the body starts to shut down and all sorts starts to slow down. So I don't want to ever fully retire. But as for if I could design my future. If I get there, if I live long enough, then
On the back of that, if someone, imagine you won the lottery tomorrow. I know we shouldn't be playing more lottery or whatever, but you imagine, somehow, with some luck, you won the lottery, or so, you won jackpot in your business or something, and you made your millions. Would you still carry on doing what you're doing?
yeah,
Would you? Serious?
I've been there. Maybe not multi-millions or anything, but I've been there. As an example, at the age of 22, I was paying £2,000 a week on tax alone through my sales agency, and that was going back almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s now, so I've been in the situation where you have a lot of money,
Yeah.
and you realize money is not everything.
Yeah.
So, from a young age, and that's coming from somebody who came from nothing. So it wasn't like I was born into a situation where we had an affluent family. We didn't. I was brought up in a council estate. We worked hard to become educated and whatnot. But I don't think I'd ever want to retire. I would rather continue working, but do what I enjoy doing, be more choosy and picky over it, than completely retire. Yeah.
No, I totally agree
But
with
in
that.
terms of where I'd like to be, I would like to be somewhere roaming between the Middle East and South Asia, in between the two
Well,
regions.
Philippines or the Thailands.
Well, no, I think more towards Pakistan even. I love Pakistan. I love it, absolutely love it. I love everything about the whole environment, the scenery, the beauty. I've traveled a lot in that region, and there's a lot of natural beauty there. We're very underrated. So if anybody hasn't been, there's documentaries now where non-Pakistanis, like people from America, Canada, Australia, England, they've been to Pakistan and they rated it the highest place, giving it the top place in terms of a holiday destination.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
so it depends on where you go in Pakistan, but it's a beautiful country. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, certificate or experience? What's more important?
I don't think there's a straight answer to that. I think it's a mix. Some things you can be certified for, but not know how to execute them until you're in the practical life. But there's some things you can have experience with, but there are certain theories which come in handy when you're practicing them, and it confirms certain levels of. It confirms my phone's on. It's got a mind of its own. It confirms certain level of understanding, in my opinion. So yeah, I think there's a bit of both. There's no clear answer.
Fair play. Dream car?
What I already have is my dream car. I don't lose sleep over cars. I used to be that kind of guy. I bought the flash brand new sports car from the showroom, but no, I'm not into cars anymore. Whatever, as long as it's reliable, and that's what matters and comfortable.
Okay, the next one is a bit critical, kind of not critical. You find out. Tell me something that you would change about yourself.
That's a good question.
That's what I mean. The next is kind of.
What I would change about myself, I'd say that it could be seen as something negative sometimes, but I think would I really want to change that about myself is when I'm trusting. I'm quite trusting. From my default position with people is of trusting with people. I'd like to believe I'm a good enough character to know if someone's going to try and do me over. But sometimes I do get away with it. So if I could change that, I'd like to change. But that's not on me then. That's on them, isn't it? I won't want to be not trusting. So there you have it. That's that.
And lastly, what motivates you?
What motivates me? It depends on what for.
I mean, in life, your work life, your fun, like it's why are you doing all these businesses? There must be some. If it's not monetary value, there. Why? Some people want they do things for fame. Some people do it for money. Some people do it for recognition. What's your motivation?
Well, at the moment, my motivation is always to help people around me, which at the moment would be my young family. So I have kids who I want to provide them a good base for. But even if it's not for the kids, it would be people who I know or people around me within my community, like the food bank that we run, or doing stuff for them or within poorer countries, charitable work, that kind of thing. It motivates me to be in a position that I'm blessed to be in that position where, the hand is not, the palm isn't facing upwards, it's in the position to give rather than just asking. So I'm motivated by the fact that I'm blessed to be in that position to give, and that motivates me further to give and do more. Yeah.
No, that's really good. So, Majid, do you have any other do you have any questions to me or to the viewers?
Yeah, I have a question for you. How did you sell yourself to your wife? I want to know the answer now. We're at the end of the show now. You've got to answer the question. What did you do to impress her? Did you tell her that you were a hot shot? Did you tell her that go on?
I've got one word for that. Can you take this off? Actually, too.
Okay, cool.
I'll tell you over to you when I meet you in one of those chat.
Okay. No worries.
Also, Majid, I know you've got a lot of you've got 4 businesses that you run. So I'll leave all the link onto the comment section after this call. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, they can do. Is there any particular social media platform or a particular way you?
I'm on most. I'm on most of them. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. What else am I on? Twitter. Just Google my name, Majid Waris, and you'll see me there.
Cool. Yeah. That's fine. Guys, if you have any questions for Majid, please do leave a comment, and Majid is in the group and he'll answer any of your questions. And I will also leave his social details on the comment section as well. Thank you again, Majid, for joining us today, taking your time to come. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Before we wrap this up, do you have anything else?
Thanks for a good chat, and it was a good evening, and I'll catch up with you soon.
You too. Take care, Majid.
Take care.